that was it. Now, I have a couple thoughts about this quest. I'm probably gonna make this a video. So, do I give my rating of the quest first to enrage a couple people right off the bat, or do I first do I save it for the end? Right, first explain later. All right, you know what? Bet. I would rate this quest roughly because I'm not good with ranking stuff. I would give this quest a rough ranking of 7.84 out of 10. All in all, I actually quite enjoyed this quest. I'm gonna talk about what I liked first, and then later I'll go up into my criticisms because they connect to the next thing that I'm gonna talk about, which is people's general opinion on it on Twitter and the internet. Things that I loved is, number one, the cast. This quest, in terms of the main cast, or like the characters that participated, was practically tailor-made for me. Because it had almost every single one of my non-Amphorious favorite characters. We had Bootil, we had Aventurine, we had Robin, Rekka, Scott is one of my favorite NPCs, as much as people hate him, I love him. Sampo, fucking Kozgi. The only character that I can think of the top of my head that was missing was like Ratio. Add Ratio and Serval and it would have been literally all of my non-Amphorious favorites. So in terms of the cast, beautiful. I actually quite enjoyed the I loved the character interactions we got in this whole quest. I loved the interactions between not just the HSR cast, but also them with, the Fate characters. I love that little dynamic we got now of Bootle and Lancer, Archer and Aventurine. The Saber and the Trailblazer was fine. I actually quite liked Grady and Miss Note as characters. And I do like that this continuance did give us, although it's a continuance and it's a collab quest, it did give us some more Penacony lore. And I think the storytelling, for the most part, was actually really good. Oh yeah, and I'm glad that Sampo ended up actually being Sampo and not Sparkle. At least as far as I'm aware currently. So that's like my general sentiments on the more positive side. On the not so positive side, there are a few things that this quest definitely could have done better. Number one, the fact that neither Grady nor Miss Note, or Asna, I guess, got their own models is baffling. Like, I really enjoyed both of their characters, but they should have gotten their own models. At least like Siobhan's level. If she can have one, then so can they, considering they've been present throughout a big chunk of the quest. Next, the silent film portion. I enjoyed it, but they should have kept it to one act. It was fun for one act. I think one act would have been great, would have been ideal, would have been wonderful for the bit. But after that, it should have gone back to normal. Or even if not to normal, at least we should have gotten the voices back. The silent film portion, while good, it was too long. Number 3, totally not Ides Elysiae. They could have made a separate map. They could have, tweaked it somehow, instead of just reusing the whole fucking thing. The fact that we entered that map, and my first thought was, why are we in Ides Elysiae? Not great. Not great. As I said earlier in the quest, right? I don't mind when we had that little silent film, when we were in the silent film portion, when we were face to face with that monster which was supposed to be dead, but it was still moving. I don't mind little things like that. To have a machine or a monster that's supposed to be dead, out cold, and they're still moving, and the narrator is like, listen, we couldn't be bothered to fix this, don't worry about it. That's fine. Little things like that, totally fine. But taking Ides Elysiae and just calling it Britain, that's cheap. That's just cheap. Those, as far as I can recall right now, are my main criticisms. Aside from that, this entire quest was pretty much within my expectations, and I enjoyed it a lot. Now, with this, I realize once again that my perception of this whole quest was very different from the general consensus that people have reached on social media. And I think that is in big part due to how I personally view this whole collab, just as a whole. I've not like read too much about like people's exact opinions because, you know, I didn't want to spoil myself too much. But I've seen people say that many thought that like for an HSR quest, it was okay. It was, you know, mid, like a 5 out of 10 or something. And for a Fate quest, it was bad. It was terrible. It was very disappointing. Now, here's the thing. Personally, to me, I never considered this quest to be a Fate quest to begin with. I feel like people, with the way that this collab was partially announced and marketed, you know, they announced it like a year or even longer in advance, and people were like very excited for it because it's Fate and it's a big franchise and they were expecting a lot. And then we got, you know, this quest, we got the free archer, we got Saber, and as characters, gameplay-wise, they're great, and we got the quest, and the Fate characters ended up being sort of just like part of the main cast, but they didn't take up any like main focus. Personally, I expected this because to me, this is not a Fate and HSR collab where they're both on equal ground, if that makes sense. This was an HSR collab with the Fate characters as guest appearances. So I've been playing gacha games for 7-ish years, and mind you, maybe that contributes to it, maybe there's a difference, but I came from the Japanese rhythm gacha sphere. My first game was Bandori back in 2019, 18, 19-ish. I played OnStar's, Show by Rock, Idler 7, and I dabbled in other gachas as well, both rhythm and non-rhythm. And these games that I've mentioned have had collabs with other franchises in the past. Bandori had a Persona 5 collab, OnStar's collab with Link not too long ago, Show by Rock with Sanrio, and these collabs have always gone pretty much like this, where you have a game A, which I call, you know, the main game, and their collab partner. And the way that usually works is you take a couple of characters from the collab partner, you put them into the world of the main game, you include them in a story, you make them interact with the cast from the main game, you have them bond a little, you give out a free character or a gacha, a banner, whatever, and that's about it. They never take up like the spotlight anywhere. That is my experience with collabs of this type. Which is why when they announced the Fate collab, that's all I expected. Because that's what I'm used to from every other like gacha game / game that I've seen so far. The game or franchise that the game collabs with never ends up being the main focus. It's, in essence, a guest appearance. They're there to be included in the story for some fun interactions, for some fun insiders and references to those who know, which personally for me, I didn't. Another thing to add is also I have not watched or played any Fate before, and I was not part of the group that rushed to watch UBW before the collab released so they'd understand, you know, the characters and references better. I didn't really care about that. So, like quite a few references probably just, like, flew over my head. But that's pretty much what I expected. So, for me personally, this quest was good. It was good. Was it a fucking masterpiece? No. Was it bad? Not in my opinion. It was good. 7.84 or something, and, you know, like, do the thing, deduct 1 to 2 points, and you get, like, I don't know, 6 to 7-ish, and there you go, whatever. It's in line with other continuances. Yeah, that's also the thing, like, it's a continuance. It's a continuance, and it's a collab quest, so we were never gonna get, like, any lore that we would have gotten would have been in connection with Penacony, number 1. Because that's how continuances at least have worked so far. We focus on the planet that we're currently on, generally. Correct question is, this made you want to look for Fate content? Honestly, not really. I enjoyed the characters. I don't really care for Fate as a whole, if that makes sense. Rappa's story is worse than this in my opinion. Yeah, though I personally enjoyed it probably more than most others did. This was definitely better than the 2.6 quest. Even with the, you know, Rappa and Boothill and Rekka, this one had less fluff. Crux of the discussion is that this was announced a whole year ago. There were less bad comments if this was done like 2 patches ago. Yeah, and that I understand. is that because this was announced so far in advance, people were expecting a lot more. So in that aspect, I understand that. Again, personally, from my past experiences with other gacha games and game collabs, this was literally what I expected. Like, same formula. So I am not really disappointed about that. For me, this quest was very fun because, again, this was an HSR quest with the Fate cast or some of the Fate cast as guests. Nothing more, nothing less. This is not how modern collabs go nowadays. Do you have, I think you mentioned it before, do you have like any examples where the collab partner actually takes up like more of center stage? Because personally, I have no experience with those kinds of games. Personally, every time I see like a collab, it's just, you know, characters being added to a game or things like this. Still felt like 3.3 storytelling with more fluff compared to this and recent story quests, and fluff is night and day. See, here's the thing, right? This also depends on what you consider to be fluff. For me, in this quest, there was very little fluff, because I am a very character-focused person. I don't play games for the meta, for the gameplay, for even the lore, as much as, although I am invested in the lore of this game, obviously. I mean, you've seen that if you've been watching my streams. I am invested in the lore and story and how everything is going. But first and foremost, I am a character-driven person. And in terms of character interactions, this quest gave us so much. In terms of character dynamics, this quest actually gave us a lot of, like, fun dynamics. So, for me personally, it was great. We got to see lots of characters interact, have, like, little conversations, little, you know, clashes here and there, or agreements and whatnot. And that is what I play games for. And other people would consider this to be fluff. Personally, I don't, because things like these are what make the characters so special for me, what makes everything so special for me. I could not care less about how complex or deep a game's lore is if I cannot get attached to the characters. And the way you get me attached to the characters is by having them interact with other characters. By fleshing out their motivations, their personalities, the way they act around each other. That is how I find enjoyment. And I know that's not how other people see it. Other people, they care more for the storytelling. They care more for the world building. Personally, that's not my focus. PGR and DMC, Tower of Defense, and Eva, Nika, and Eva. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. Not gonna lie, I liked the quest, and the part of Misha and Pom Pom was the best in regard. The end with Misha and Pom Pom was very sweet. Virgil took over PGR. He was the mainstay of the patch. Interesting. Exactly, Victor. The lore is interesting, but it's not the reason that I play. I come for the characters, and I stick around for the characters. And the lore and story and everything, of course, they add on to my enjoyment of the characters. To me, the fluff with the large Scott focus, primarily in Silent Movie, to me, it felt like a bit too much fluff. I only like our playable characters in terms of developments. I'm not a Scott fan. That's fair. Personally, I even enjoyed those parts because I love Scott. Because I think he's so stupid. He's such a fucking boy failure. He's such a loser. So I actually enjoyed the Scott segments. But again, the silent movie part, yeah, they could have like tightened that up a little bit and kept the silent part to just one act. For me, I'm not a Boothill fan, but the quest had me super interested to see Lancer and him interacting because of their past and goals, and there was none. Yeah, they teased it. They teased it. That I will say is that, and I think that's partially because this was such a quote big cast, all things considered, is that we got small character interactions, which for me is already great because listen, I'm a psychology student. I hyper-analyze every line of dialogue between characters. Like, for me, I see the potential, but of course they could have given us more. They should have given us, honestly. They could have given us like a scene with Sampo and Hook as well, another scene. Like, they were just here. Which, to be fair, I actually appreciate. I think it's very cute that Sampo took Hook here. That's actually so fucking sweet. And Sampo's little thing at the end. I think the HSR's main focus in lore is world building because they're not very focused on the MC, like the world just revolves on... Yes, and that's honestly what I like. Many people... Personally, I love when the MC is not the focus of the story. I love when the MC is more of an observer. I don't like stories that are too centered around the MC where the main character is like the one who saves the day every time. They're always the one figuring everything out and saving. I don't like that. I like stories where the MC does not have that much power, where the MC is just... They contribute, but they are not the saving grace. They are not the big hero saving the day, you know? I hope they make a part 2 of this collab eventually, take the feedback and make the collab liked by all, give us Playable Lancer and Gilgamesh, and I'm all in. I feel like with the way this is set up, it could be, honestly. I feel like this could definitely be a more than just a one-part thing. But I will say, Sampo's wish at the end, listen, I am treating that wish as a genuine wish, because I believe in my boy. I believe in my boy.